Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Good. It was a tough way to lose a game because the Oilers were, I think, clearly the superior team tonight. That was reflected in our scoring chance count. They had 17 grade A scoring chances to 11 for the Leafs. And a lot of those Leafs ones came late on a power play. But they found a way to lose, Bruce. Nonetheless, I found it to be kind of an encouraging game. It's their second good game in a row against Toronto. They were the best team on the ice in both games, and they stopped looking like that horrible team we saw in the play-in round in the first 4 games of the year, essentially. They stopped looking like that disorganized, disjointed, ragtag team that was barely able to claw its way into any game, even against weak teams like Chicago and maybe Vancouver this year. So this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. Bruce, what's your first good thing?
Yeah, my good thing
your
tonight.
only good thing.
My good thing tonight is Connor McDavid, and I thought he was very, very strong in this game. Generated in all 11 grade A scoring chances for the Oilers that he was involved in. Had 7 shots on net himself. Was able to solve Freddie Anderson, who was excellent in Toronto's net, with one mid-air deflection that found the 5-hole and was robbed by Anderson a couple other times. And honestly, his line mates were unable to convert on a few pretty golden opportunities that he set them up for, and he was strong. He had one little defensive lapse in the early going when he kind of got caught puck watching while Wayne Simmons skated through and had a good chance in the slot. But otherwise, they were pushing the play, and when he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot Toronto 16-4. And they won their part of the game 1-0, but it wasn't quite enough to make up for the rest of the game. That the Oilers special teams and fourth line were on the short end of this one. Empty net goal made it 4-2. Close game.
Yeah, I thought. Well, Nuge missed the net a couple times on pretty decent chances, and he's got to obviously got to hit the net, or you can't score. That's why we don't count them as grade A chances, because some people might count those as grade A chances, but man, come on, hit the net. And Kassian was eventually taken off that line, probably deserved it. He really hasn't earned his keep on that line in some time now, more than a full calendar year now. It's probably not a fair way to rate it, considering how little hockey's been played, but he's had lots of games there, and he hasn't been effective in a long time. Puljujarvi at least went to the net and actually got a grade A chance right at the end of the game there, going to the net, Bruce. So I'm not a big fan of rushing Puljujarvi, but he did play well tonight. The whole plan was to play him with Turris most of the year. And what's that with the Mike Tyson expression? Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. Yeah. Well, kind of a 2-4 start is a bit of a punch in the face, and maybe we'll see Puljujarvi with McDavid next game. Turris, just because mainly Turris has not been playing very well. My good thing, Bruce, was Darnell Nurse. Nurse. I just thought he was in the last couple of games, he and Ethan Bear played really well. They don't win, of course, they don't win every battle, but they're out there often against the other team's best lines. And Nurse, I just thought, was the commanding presence, that fast, aggressive, smart defenseman that he can be, and positionally sound. He made a contribution to a grade A scoring chance, didn't make one significant mistake on a grade A scoring chance against. He was just really strong. And do the Oilers ever need that? Do they ever need him to be that player this year? So someone made a good comparison the other day. People were attacking Nurse, and he said it's funny that many of the same fans who are now attacking Nurse were the ones who complained bitterly when Petrie was traded out of town. And I think that's probably true. And I think that's a fair comment, that they should think about that Just wait for Nurse. He's coming. He stepped up every chance, every rung along the way. Sometimes it's taken him a while, but he has stepped up. This is obviously the biggest reach that he's had to make in terms of getting better as a player. But games like this make me think that he can do it.
They played 24 minutes tonight, and almost all of that at even strength. And again, the Oilers were way on top of his part of the game. Mind you, that was with the McDavid line, but they're part of the unit, him and Bear, and they play with the McDavid trio quite a lot. And shots on his watch were 17-7, score also 1-0, and they won their part of the game. And unfortunately, it was the depth part of the team that wasn't able to saw off their part of the game. We'll get to that, I guess. But anyway, it was.
We'll get to. Why don't you segue into it, Bruce? Your bad thing. Let's go.
Well,
let's do this.
Well, okay, all right. My bad thing. They the goal that put Toronto ahead 2-1. I mean, the Oilers were getting all this credit for covering off the defensive slot and so on. The puck went over to the sideboards. Josh Archibald, who doing Josh Archibald things. I think 6 hits in each game in Toronto, and he's laid on some heavy ones, but he's on the sideboards on his own hash mark on a 50-50 puck, and he's got he actually wins the puck battle, but in the process of getting to the puck and passing it back to Adam Larsson, first of all, his center, Devon Shore, just blew the zone up the middle of the ice. And right behind him, his left winger, James Neal, blew the zone up the middle of the ice. And all of a sudden, there are 0 forwards except for the one guy who's trapped along the wall. He gets it back to Larsson. Larsson tries a backhanded pass along the end boards. It's intercepted. And all of a sudden, there's 3 Toronto forwards. And there's nobody left on the Edmonton who can, except for the 2 defensemen who are both scrambling. And William Nylander made a nice pass, and the guy wound up with the wide open net. But what are the forwards doing there? I'd like to know. Like just blowing the zone. 2 of them, one right after the other.
They're going to get excoriated, Bruce, I'm sure, after the game, because that is Neal especially.
Start with this.
Neal especially. Well, by their coach, by someone they care about, not by us. I mean, everyone, all the fans, of course, but by someone they actually give a hoot. But their teammates and their coach are going to think, like, buddies, we were playing such a great defensive game. I mean, let me just look at even strength scoring chances against here. Yes, just 6 all game long, right? It's pretty darn good. That's a very strong even strength performance, and to do that, Neal. It was apparent when Neal was heading out the zone that they had lost the puck. The puck's already going back to Larsson, and he's still going forward. Stop and get back there. Hustle back to the slot man. I don't know if it would have made a difference, Bruce, because Larsson's turnover was the real stinker in a lot of ways there. Like there was a number of stinkers, but Larsson's turnover was like, come on, don't do that. It's hard to recover from that.
Well, he's trying to make a pass and it got intercepted. I mean, at least he was trying to do the right thing. I mean, the guy's blowing the zone. Yeah. What are they trying to do? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not pleased with the play that Larsson made. Don't get me wrong, but he was getting it on the radio. It was all Adam Larsson's turnover. But man, you watch that replay and you watch those 2 guys in front of the net just take off and abdicate their defensive responsibilities. And anybody out there among the faithful who coaches hockey, that'll just make your hair stand on end. That whole thing.
They got to work with their defensemen to get the puck out, and this is the 4th line, Bruce. These are the guys. It would be one thing if it was like McDavid blowing that, like that might be a little different, maybe. But these guys can't. You're the 4th line. You can't get scored on. Devon Shore should come out and they should put Kara back in. He can't do that. And he was also caught adjusting his helmet, like on the power play goal, the point shot. If he hadn't been adjusting his helmet and got his stick on puck, that wouldn't have got through. Now that was a fluky goal. That was a weird fluky goal off the guy's skate. So, that's not as bad on Devon Shore, but that play was bad, and it was really bad on James Neal. And my bad thing, for another segue, Bruce, is the decision to put James Neal in that game. You win a big game in Toronto. Your team plays a near perfect defensive game, and your fourth line was likely your best even strength line. It was the line that had all kinds of offensive zone time, was getting things done. You finally have a fourth line, and what do? Well, let's mess with success. This is the Dave Tippett formula. Unfortunately, we've seen it a couple instances here, is the mess with success. Let's put James Neal back in. So I get the coaches thinking we got to get James Neal back in. He's probably a better player than Chiasson. We need him on the power play, maybe to shake up the power play. But come on, why would you do that? Why would you change that? Because you're disrupting a line that was working. You're disrupting a team that just won a game. And should be rewarded maybe with the same lineup after you've allowed only 4 grade A scoring chances. Maybe reward that team and that lineup and just, hey, we'll go with it again. James, you're just going to have to wait another night. Sorry, friend. So I didn't like that by Tippett. And he is a great defensive coach. He has this team now playing great defensive hockey again. But the guy who was inserted in the lineup forgot how to play hockey. No surprise, right? That happens when guys get back in the lineup, and that's what cost them the game.
When you lose a 1-goal game and your fourth line is -1 again, then, after 2 games where the bottom 6 actually were able to break even, they were finally at least not getting killed. That bottom 6 as lines have not scored a goal all year. So that takes me to my number. Not really sure where it is though. I kind of lost track. It's either 0-8 or it's 0-9. The third and fourth lines at even strength during the season have not scored a goal. The Oilers have not scored a goal without. I don't think they've got one without one of McDavid or Draisaitl on the ice, and they've got this third and fourth lines, like Turris is at -4 for the season, Shore is at -4, Kara is at -2, and I'm talking like 0-4, 4 against, 0-4, 4 against, 0-4, 2 against. And I think one of those goals, Kara and Shore were both on the ice because Shore was playing left wing that one game. But that bottom 6, I mean, it's been a problem forever, just forever. I know, let's trade Andrew Cogliano for a second-round draft pick so we can bring in Eric Belanger and Ben Eager to play in our bottom 6. And I mean, that's 10 years ago, David, and it's been bad ever since.
Yeah, it has, Bruce. I know.
And it was bad before that too. But I mean, anyway, it's just so frustrating.
Has Gaetan Haas skated with the team yet?
I don't know of his status. They're pretty mum on Haas. I mean, at least they were talking about Neal skating and and getting extra time. But Haas, I just haven't heard thing one about the guy really.
I wonder if he got really sick from COVID. Do we even know if? Seems like he had it. It's not. This isn't just that they were worried about
positive, probably.
Yeah. So I wonder if he actually is one of the people who got quite sick. So I hope that's not the case.
Kidding.
Obviously.
Don't wish that on anyone.
No. I can just check, Bruce. The goals. But anyway, we don't have to check. It's like they've scored none and they've let in a bunch and they've been killing the team. And, earlier on, it was the better players on the team that were some of them were kind of iffy. Nurse and Bear in particular in the first 3 or 4 games. But now they're really playing well. Larson's generally playing well. He didn't have as good a game tonight. He made a few bad plays, but he's generally been playing pretty well. Russell, since he's been in lineup, has played well. Cuckoo's playing well, but it's the third and fourth lines. You're right. It's like very painful. Anyway, let's just be a little optimistic here with my number, which is 25. I think it's 25 and. Let me think, 11 and 25 and 15. That's the grade A scoring chances in the last 2 games against the Leafs. The Oilers deserve better. They, maybe 3 points, maybe 4 points. They were the better team both nights, I thought, by quite a large margin, by quite a large gap. But this is, this is hockey. The teams are very close anyway. Yep. And one bad bounce, it's the bad bounce. It's the team that seems to get the bad bounce in an NHL game. The first bad bounce, you lose. First game, it was, the puck going in off a Leafs defenseman's skate from Yamamoto behind the net. And this time it was a weird deflection off the guy's skate. Maybe he was intending to deflect that. I don't know.
No.
But it was a weird deflection off his skate and lucky deflection. And that kind of sunk the Oilers. And then they did it to themselves too. So, Bruce, they're playing again, fairly strong hockey, strong two-way hockey, strong defensive hockey. And they're kind of playing Tippett hockey, which is more of a strong defensive game. And listen, Coach Tippett, I have been critical on you on your line combinations, and I really still think that you're getting it wrong, that the coach is getting it wrong. I don't think he's listening to this, so I don't have to talk to him directly. I think the coach is getting it wrong. But he is a great defensive hockey coach and a strong hockey coach overall, and has done a lot right with the team. I just think he needed, they can stick with Neil now that they put him in there, but maybe they're going to take Kassian out for a game, and it's not like that would be a shocking move at this point. And I thought the Draisaitl line was good, Bruce, with Cahoon and Yamamoto. They're looking like they have some chemistry. I'm still not feeling it with McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and whoever they're with. Maybe give it a game with Puljujarvi and see if that works. But I'd much rather see RNH go back to the Draisaitl line still.
Yeah, well, Leon was setting up plays left and right tonight, and the shots weren't getting through. They were getting blocked, or the players were getting off weak shots when they really needed stronger ones. And I mean, Anderson played good in Toronto net, and Toronto missing their star player Austin Matthews. And this was a game, like Toronto and Edmonton are quite similar in some ways. They got the two big players, and then the third and fourth lines are quite a come down. And so Edmonton had two star centers. Toronto only had one. All three of them scored, but Toronto got scoring support from other players, and the Oilers obviously did not. Nice shorty Leon scored. That was a nice play by both guys, Yamamoto and Draisaitl. And if they could have just killed the 40 seconds that was left on that penalty or whatever, they were in a real good spot. But that was first lead change of the season, where a team got the lead and wound up losing in any Oilers game.
It'll be interesting to see them go against Winnipeg. I think they match up well against Toronto. Toronto's more of a finesse team, and I think the Oilers are going to struggle more against the power teams. If the Montreal, Toronto dichotomy that we saw in their play continues on. So I don't know what the Jets are at this point. It's hard we haven't seen them, and they've had a lot of change on that team. I don't know if they're a power team or not. I don't really think that they are. But we'll see how they match up, because that's the next game on Sunday night. Yep. And again, we're back in this kind of early season must-win mode. Although I'm a little calmer overall, because they looked a lot better.
They're looking like a team. I'm so frustrated tonight, because they looked. I mean, that was a game they really should have won.
Yeah,
they absolutely should have got at least a result out of that game.
Anderson stole the game.
Pissed it away in regulation. It's frustrating as all get out, because they were controlling large parts of that game. And just a couple of dumb breakdowns, and they couldn't break through. Toronto was more tenacious, I guess, on the defensive side of the puck. And they had the better goal. I don't want to blame Koskinen at all, because I don't think he had a chance on any of the goals. But
no, he didn't.
One was a bounce.
And he made some good saves. He made some good saves too. And he didn't. Yeah, like you could even, as a stretch, you could give him like a great game grade of 7. Like, it's not 7, maybe a 7. Like, he only gave up the 3. He gave up 3, I guess. 3.
He's gotten a 6. Like he made some saves, and like I say, you can't really blame him on any of the goals. But Toronto had the hotter tender tonight.
He hasn't been the reason the Oilers are losing games. It's not on Koskinen. So it's it's a combination of things. The good news is I think they have their defense sorted out, Bruce. Mm-hmm. There's just a wee bit of tinkering, a couple of small moves on the top 2 lines, and I think they can get both lines going, like in a significant way, the top 2 lines. And then once I think Haas. I want to place all my hopes on Gaetan Haas, right? Like, but I think he is a decent fourth line center, a decent bottom, maybe even third line center. So they could have that, Bruce, going for them, and that will be a significant difference on this team. Because right now, Shore had a really good game last game, but he's this guy who goes, like we said last game, he goes a million miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And doesn't always necessarily, we're starting to see a little pattern, like, does he think the game at a high level? Maybe he's more of a winger, right? Maybe that's what he should be doing rather than being asked to be that guy who's the linchpin of the line, the pivot.
Yeah, well, tonight he played 7 minutes and 24 seconds, and he failed to clear the puck and then adjusted his helmet on the first Toronto goal. Blew the zone on the second Toronto goal and was in the penalty box on the game-winning goal for a hooking penalty. So he was directly involved in the 3 Toronto goals that mattered in 7 minutes of ice time. So it shall not. I got nothing against Devon Shore, but he had a poor game tonight, and it was a costly one.
Yeah, maybe a winger, eh? Maybe not a center. We'll see. I guess I saw some stat. Dylan Holloway took like 29 face-offs in his college game, and he won 25 of them. So
I heard he dominated in the circle. I didn't hear the numbers. I know he played 21 minutes, had a couple of assists. Sounded like he had a whale of a game. So
good stuff.
Have to go in and look at some of those in-stat games. The Oilers have been playing so often that we're just totally zoned in on Oilers games. But
maybe the first time.
Catch up on one or two of these young guys.
I wouldn't mind to see Broberry play. He's back in action. He's played a couple games. I wouldn't mind seeing Holloway. Like we can, and Samorukov, like the big guys, we can still touch base with and see how they're doing because they have all been playing. But nonetheless, like it's like, in some ways, I don't want to hear about the future right now. Like the future is now.
Yeah.
This team has got to sort it out. And so just to end, Bruce, is there anything that comes, like what would you, I'm always giving the coach advice. What would you like to see? What do you think has to happen next game?
Well, I'm seeing promising signs. Like I think that they played two or 8 games in Toronto. The first one was no piece of art, but it was tenacious defense. And tonight they look good for long stretches of the game, and they just got to cut out those mistakes. I mean, tonight's game reminded me a little bit of, in Chicago, how they somehow managed to lose those 2 1-goal games and games 3 and 4 against Chicago, where you think, well, most of the night we're kind of in control, and yet somehow the other team's got bigger number than the Oilers do on the scoreboard. And it's close, and even a 1 point out of this game would have been okay to come out of Toronto with 3 points, but they've had now 3 series, and they've had 2 points, 0 points, 2 points, and even 2 points, 500 doesn't cut it in the NHL. You got to generate extra points somehow, and so a little bit behind the 8 ball after the opening 3 2-game sets.
Well, the season's young. The season is young, and this is a team with a lot of talent. I still hold to that, and we saw them playing a little bit better tonight. So I'm encouraged a wee bit about the whole thing. So I would have been real happy, of course, with the victory, just like every Oilers fan. So let's leave it there, Bruce.
The Leafs, man. You can probably tell I'm not very happy. Sucks to lose to the Leafs.
Yeah. Thanks for talking tonight, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.